Well, good
How are
evening,
you?
everyone.
Nice to see you. How
I'm
are you?
Sharon Reisman, the events director for the Monterey County Republican Party, and I welcome everyone to the Take Back California 2026 Candidate Forum.
Thank you very
And
much.
thank you for coming out. I know it's kind of a rainy day and everything, so I really appreciate you coming out here. And I trust you will be informed and inspired by the end of the forum. Feel free and grab food and refreshments. We distributed handouts about the forum and information on how you can get involved in local politics. And make sure you visit the candidates tables. And we have a lot of events coming up. So visit the Monterey Republican Community Group on Facebook for updates and join the group if you haven't already. And this is a free event.
I don't really.
So, we're happy to offer that to you. However, it wasn't free to us. And so we would greatly appreciate if you could, your donation in the jars in the front, if you're able to. And at this time, I would like to invite, to begin with the invocation and invite up Pastor Dave Lucas from the Calvary Chapel Lighthouse Fellowship in Pacific Grove, and remain standing for the renewal of the Pledge of Allegiance of the United States of America.
All right.
Good evening. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening, for your presence over this gathering. We ask that your spirit would be among us, guiding our thoughts and steadying our hearts as we listen tonight. Help us not to hear only with our ears, but also to hear your still small voice, giving us truth and wisdom. Father, we lift up each candidate here this evening. We ask that you would strengthen and guide them, raising up men and women of character, conviction, and integrity. May we truly be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. We ask that you would continue to watch over and protect our communities, our state, and our nation. Strengthen us, O Lord, and help us to walk in wisdom. Entrusted to us. It calls us to walk worthy of the calling which we've been called. And we recognize that you place people in positions of influence in our homes, in communities, in churches, and in government. We ask that you would place your heart within each of these candidates, giving them clarity and courage and desire to serve others well. We also pray for unity in the midst of differing views, that there would be respect and civility and a shared desire for the good of all. Grant discernment for those listening tonight, that we may weigh what is said with wisdom and understanding. We lift up the state of California. We ask that you would give us ears to hear and hearts to respond, not only in word, but also in action. We commit this evening to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and now I would like to welcome up our MC for the evening, the wonderful first Vice Chair of Monterey County Republican Party, Greg Fuller.
And use my English really well, so all the candidates should be happy with that. Ground rules for tonight, basically, first off, thank you for being here. We know candidates, it's a tough job. Sometimes you're talking to 5,000 people, sometimes you're talking to 5 people. It's a lot of work, and we appreciate you coming all the way to town and doing this. So thank you for your votes. Just to advance, it's pretty nice. And everybody that's here in person, it means a lot. We're glad you're here. We have some Central Committee members here. Anybody from the Central Committee want to stand up? Go ahead, stand up. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you're seeing these people standing, they are the representatives within Monterey County for the Republican Party. Okay, so it's important that you get to know them And go ahead and sit down. Sit down, Brady. At ease. So yeah, those are people you can get in touch with. Our office is in downtown Salinas. It's in 414 South Main Street. The phone is always available. You can get in touch with people. You'll have questions about these candidates, I'm sure, afterwards, and we'll be able to answer those over at our office. Ground rules for tonight. Basically, we're hoping it's 5 minutes. We're hoping we can 5 minutes. We're going to go in order. We're going to go from top of state candidates all the way down through local races. There are 11, this many plus one. Okay, in order. And good news for everybody is that this is being live streamed. So it's not only people in this audience, we have 2 different live streams going right now. So you could be reaching millions of people. Okay. Stay. All right. First on our list, we're going to have hear from our candidate for lieutenant governor. That's David Fennell. Fennell. David Fennell's to come up.
Okay, Monterey. So I grew up in Half Moon Bay, just up the coast from here. So it's great to be here, and the vibe is great. Like, as Republicans, usually it's depressing. Like, we need a safe house. But this year it's looking really good. If we're ever going to take back the state, it is 2026. And we feel it in the polls. I brought some polls. And the governor poll, we got 2 governor candidates, both look great. And, they're polling at the top. They're doing well, which is a great poll. I do like the latest poll, though, for lieutenant governor, because of the 16 candidates, I'm currently number 1. And I am beating the Democrats, Fiona Ma. The 3rd place is also a Republican. So I couldn't be more happy. I made 5 trips to all 58 counties, which I think is tough. And the first question I get, first people go, thank God you're here. What does the lieutenant governor do? And so the way it has worked is what the lieutenant governor does is gets up in the morning, checks the newspaper, looks at the obituaries, and if the governor's not in it, he goes back to it. That's how it happens. Really, the lieutenant governor is one of the best jobs. I only had 5 minutes to actually make a list. The lieutenant governor is the chair of the Commission for Economic Development. He is supposed to write the plan for the state, the business plan. We've not had a business plan for the state, an economic plan, in 8 years. He's supposed to give it to the governor. He's supposed to focus on trade. And the first thing I'm going to do to make a plan, I need to audit the books. I need to meet with the leaders of each industry and say, tech companies are going to Texas. What can we do to keep you here? Films are being made overseas. How do we get films back into California? And on the farming industry, I grew up in Half Moon Bay, agriculture one side, tech the other side. Farmers are not getting water they need. So real quick, I only put my 2 minutes left. He also sits on the board of the UC schools. He sits on the board of the state schools. He sits on the board of the community colleges. So if you think of all the nonsense our students are getting, this is a really important position, and it is the only elected position that sits on all 3 boards. So the same thing I'm going to do there, I'm going to audit the books for waste, but also make sure our students are being taught for the future. He also sits on the State Lands Commission, the Ocean Protection Council. So the last time we had an economic plan, it was written by Gavin Newsom as lieutenant governor. And everyone here is like, oh, you're sick with Gavin Newsom. Just my background after going half a day, I went to Santa Clara University, 1988. We get people in the alumni. So in 1988, I was involved with Republicans. So lifelong Republican. The California Electrical Municipal Association just gave me an A rating. I'm the only lieutenant governor candidate with an A rating. But while I was in the second amendment, I was an Eagle Scout. That's where I learned to shoot. While I was at Santa Clara campaigning for Republicans, who won that year, won the presidency, and won the governorship, Gavin Newsom was in the class above me. Campaign. So I was never friends with Gavin, but everyone says, you're sick of Gavin? Oh, yeah, I'm sick of Gavin. So anyway, I probably have 30 seconds left, so let me just make a final note. The lieutenant governor and governor run separately. So I don't know if you know this, but in 1978, we had a Republican lieutenant governor, and the governor was Pat Brown. So we had two people from two different offices. Ronald Reagan got this record producer to run for lieutenant governor. Now, I don't know if they're Pat Brown, Jerry Brown, Pat Brown's son. So Jerry Brown, who also runs Santa Clara University, he was out campaigning to be president. And when he was out of the state, the governor started appointing, the lieutenant governor, Republicans started appointing judges. He started vetoing executive orders. I don't know if any of you might be too young to remember. And so Jerry Brown had to run back, stop his presidential campaign, get back into the state, and only in California did this happen. The governor sued the lieutenant governor. It went all the way to the California Supreme Court. And the California Supreme Court said, sorry, Jerry, it's in the California Constitution. When the governor leaves the borders of the state, the lieutenant governor is in charge, and those Republican judges stayed. That also ruined Jerry Brown's run for president. So, here's what we let's say we have a Democrat governor, and I'm your lieutenant governor. When he leaves the state, I'll be appointing judges, vetoing legislation, and signing laws for all of you. I'm Dave Fell, running for California Lieutenant Governor. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I'm going to work from over here because it's a lot easier for everybody. Our next candidate is going to be for the Secretary of State. Is Mr.
Yeah, we heard about these great microphones. Let's see. All right, so my name is Don Wagner. I am the Republican endorsed candidate for Secretary of State. And a little bit of background because I get it. There are a couple of questions. The first question I always get is, who is Don Wagner? And I currently serve as an Orange County supervisor. Before that, I was the mayor of the city of Irvine, which when I was there, about 280,000 people. Now it's about 310,000 people. Before that, I served in the state legislature. So I have a lot of experience. And when I go through that resume, folks say, okay, so Wagner, you can't keep a job. There's maybe some truth to that. What I, though, like to say is I've had an opportunity to see what works and what doesn't work in government at all levels, at our state level, at the county levels, at the municipal levels. I was also on a college board, so at the local government level. End of the day, I know what works. And when you talk about Sacramento, really what doesn't work. And what doesn't work is the stuff coming out of Sacramento, which I'll talk about in a second. Because the other question I often get is, what is the Secretary of State? You're not running against Marco Rubio, are you? The answer is no. I'm not running against Marco Rubio. In California, the Secretary of State, for our purposes, several responsibilities, but the biggest one to talk about with you today, the Secretary of State is our Chief Elections Officer. Now, raise your hand if you think over the last 6 years since Gavin Newsom appointed the incumbent, our elections have gotten better, freer, fairer, more robust, more secure. Nobody raises their hands for those of you in watching this live stream. Nobody raises their hands because, of course, it's a joke to even ask the question. Under the current leadership that is coming out of Sacramento, they do not know how to run free and fair elections. We are the last state in the nation to report our election results every time. Remember, we're with the Central Committee and we're with Republicans who are obviously, just by virtue of being here, interested and engaged. When you were kids like me, I'd ask mom and dad, can I stay up late and watch the election results? Can't do that anymore because we're not going to get those results for another 30 days. When you go to the ballots, What's the first thing you have to do? The answer is not read up on all of the candidates. The answer is not mark your ballot. The first thing you've got to do is throw away the ballot that you've also got of the person who probably bought your house from, or that the last 2 or 3 renters at the apartment you're in, or your kids who moved out of state, and you've got just all of these ballots in the system. It leads people to believe, regardless of whether they're Republicans, Democrats, Independents, that there's something wrong with our system. We are awash in ballots. Our election rolls are not clean. We had a dog in Orange County on our election rolls. And the Democrats do not want to fix the problem. I brought 3 separate items to my Board of Supervisors down in Orange County to make our election system more robust. One of them to get rid of the dog. One of them to cooperate with the Department of Justice, which is suing us over unclean voter rolls. And a third one dealing with jury commissioners and the relationship to the voter registration. Every single one of those failed 3-2 because on my board there are 3 Democrats. They don't want to fix the problem because the problems to them aren't bugs in the system, they are features. We need to change that. And as Secretary of State, I promise to make those changes, to lead the charge going into the legislature. Some of this comes out of just Sacramento bad legislation. Secretary of State can't wave a magic wand and fix it. We have to take the fight into the legislature. But I got to tell you this, if a Republican wins this race, that's national news. There is a bully pulpit. There is a bright spotlight that comes with a Republican winning the Secretary of State's office that can be taken to the legislature in Sacramento and say, you've got to fix the problem of all of these ballots. That was a COVID thing, you mail them to everybody. You've got to fix the problem that we are the last state in the nation to report our results. That has to change because it leads the public to feel the system is not working. And regardless of how much fraud is out there, if people don't trust the system, and it's bipartisan, it's nonpartisan, if people don't trust the system, if they don't trust that the person that raises their hand to take that oath of office is the one who actually got the most votes, the rest of this experiment in democracy sort of falls apart. That's why the race is so important. The good news is, like David, I come to you with some polling information. So every candidate tells you, oh, they polled the race. I've got a poll. I went to my pollster and I said, I'm going to spend good money. I want you to tell me what I need to know, not what I want to hear. And what that poll says is put a Republican up against a Democrat and the usual happens. So why am I here? Because the poll also says, but when you tell the voters that Wagner supports voter ID and his opponent has pledged to stop it, when you talk about some of the election integrity issues and how I am in favor of strengthening our system and the system has fallen apart on the watch of the incumbent, those polls turn upside down. I am within the margin of error with the Democrats. When the no party preference voters handily and pull in 90, 93% of the Republicans. This is a winnable race because out there in the community, everybody feels distrustful of our system. That's why voter ID is not only going to be on the ballot. We turned in 1.3 million signatures. We only needed a little north of 800,000. Now you can watch. They're going to verify those signatures like they've never verified in the past. But it's going to be there. And it polled 70% in favor, 30% against. In California, you don't get 70% just with Republicans. Democrats, the no party preference, and the Republicans overwhelmingly support voter ID, and my opponent has promised to thwart voter ID. My promise to the people of California is simple. If you pass it, I'll protect it. If you pass it, we know what they do in Sacramento with items they don't like, initiatives that they don't like. They sue to stop them. They slow walk them. They simply ignore them. I will be in court protecting voter ID if it's passed by the people of California, and I think it will be. This is a winnable race this cycle with that opponent and that issue of election integrity on the ballot. Don Wagner, Secretary of State, thank you for the opportunity to be here. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Thank you.
So this is the microphone that works out.
Great job.
It's
Yes, great job.
We have people driving from all over the state to talk to you directly. And it's a real privilege to have them here, and I thank them again for all their hard work. We're working our way through the state offices. The next thing we're going to look at is the state controller. We have Herb Morgan, who came all the way from San Diego to talk to you tonight. It's an important position, and he'll tell you all about it. Here we go.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Herb Morgan, GW. I am the sole Republican candidate for state controller, and I need to start out with what the heck is a state controller, right? But I want to take you back in time a little bit to the year 1967. It's when I had my first birthday, as I entered California in the back seat of a Chevy Biscayne, driven by my 20-year-old parents, who didn't have a high school diploma between them. They came from the East Coast during the industrial decay was happening. Why? Why did they leave everything, family, friends, life on the East Coast to come here? Because California represented in 1967 the very best of the American dream. We were the American dream in California. I was able to grow up here, had my first birthday, as I said, on Route 66, grew up in Southern California, went to the public school system. California public schools in the late 60s and early 70s were ranked #1 in the country. Today, we're 46th. Our kids entering UC San Diego have to have remedial algebra. I then went to UC Santa Cruz. It's been said I'm the only Republican to ever matriculate from UC Santa Cruz. And the funny thing is, you all know that's probably true. $463 a quarter. That was when they just started charging tuition. 3 quarters in a year, I worked at the Shell gas station at the corner of Ocean and Water in Santa Cruz. Graduated in 4 years, didn't have a penny of debt to my name. I am running for state controller to try to get that California back. The California that my parents came here for in the 60s. The state controller is the chief fiscal officer of the state of California. Very important job. California has a budget this year, fiscal year ends June 30th, it's $320 billion. Does anybody know how much money that is? I'm going to put it in perspective. 320 billion seconds would be 10,700 years. One of the first things I'm going to do when I'm elected state controller is we're going to allocate some budget money, and I'm going to go ahead and pave the state highway system in gold. We have 13,000 miles of state highway in California. 10% of it has a guardrail. It's 1,300 miles of guardrail, about 3 feet high. It's on both sides of the road. We have 2,600 miles of guardrail, enough to go from Seaside to New York City. If you gold plated all that guardrail, gold's $4,800 an ounce today. I'm going to go with 0.4 microns of thickness. What would it cost? I'm going to tell you it's about $4.5 billion. Your budget's 320. Yet we spend $320 billion. We're the richest country in the history of humanity, the richest state in the richest country in the history of humanity. We have the highest tax rate of any state in the country. We have the highest tax revenue per capita of any state in the country. How are we doing? 46th in education, I mentioned that. We're the 50th best place to start your career. We're the 50th best state to retire. We're 50th in poverty. We got that going for us, which I guess is nice. My daughter just moved to North Carolina. She brought me, she knows how I think. She brought me a spreadsheet to let me know why she was leaving. Yeah. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I'm the DEI candidate for state controller. I want to detect every irregularity in government spending. Okay. So the state controller is uniquely endowed with some responsibilities by our 1879 Constitution. Chief among those responsibilities and those charges is the protection and the prevention of a thing called fraud. Current state controller, I'd like to ask you, how is she doing? Yeah. California has become, our state government has become a criminal enterprise. I say that without abatement, reservation, or exception. Thank you. In January of this year, I wrote a paper, a white paper. I'm a bit of an academic type as well as a campaigner, where I decided to put all the fraud in one document. I searched the legislative analyst LAO reports, the governor's budgets, and the state auditor reports, and I went department by department, and I came up with a number. And that number was $250 billion over 5 years. I went to Steve Hilton, my running mate, who's running for governor, one of the two great candidates running for governor. Thank you. I said, Steve, we need to do something about this. Whether we win or lose, people need to go to jail. They're stealing from the weakest among us, the homeless, the drug addicted, the alcohol addicted, the mentally deficient. They're stealing this money that's meant to help these people. It's meant to go to education, immigrant services, waterways, clean air, prisons, universities, high schools, and they're taking the money. And we have it's right in our own auditor's report from the state. So we need to go to Rob Bonta, see if he'll prosecute some of these people. That's what Steve said. He just laughed. He says, I know who we can send your report to. I said, who? He says, I can get it to the president. So he scanned my report on his phone, this report right here, and he sent it to the president of the United States. The next morning, January 6th, 2026, President Trump announced that the war on fraud has begun. The president tweeted my number. It was $250 billion. I was very excited. The only problem was I made a mistake and I got the number wrong. I found out 30 days later and I left out two categories. The number is now $425 billion. Point is this, richest state, the richest country in the history of humanity. There's no program of compassion we can't deliver at the highest level. There's no reason we can't have the best universities, the best prisons, the best highways, the best fire prevention, the best fire suppression when they happen. We can do all of these things, and we can do them at the absolute highest level, but we have to stop the fraud. And when everybody talks about the fraud, they like to blame the governor. I get it. I don't like him either, but it's not his job. It's the state controller job. The state controller's literal job is to pre-audit and post-audit the spending. She's not doing the job. Last week, there was an undercover video put out by James O'Keefe Media. Did everybody see this? If you didn't see it, you got to see it. You get on your phone, you Google state controller undercover video. This kid, not kid, he's a man, Bismarck Obundo, he's the number 2 in the state controller's office. He reports directly to the state controller. He got a date online. He was pretty excited. Not a good looking man. I think he was the first date he'd had in a while. Did I mention I was the DEI candidate? I did. I'm also the LGBTQ candidate because I want to locate government budget theft quickly. Okay? So Bismarck Obundo goes on this date. And he gets down, he has this glass of wine, he's in Sacramento, and he's bragging to the date. And she's got a hidden camera in her pocket. And he says, we don't do the audits. There's fraud everywhere. This is the person responsible for stopping fraud. There's fraud in the cities, the counties, the agencies, everywhere in our state government. I am not prone to hyperbole. That $425 billion number is light. It came from their own reports, their own admitted error rates and failure rates. I can assure you the number is much bigger. Bismarck Obundo said, we don't do the audits because the politicians don't want us to do the audits. That's what he said. Why is that not national news? It's amazing. The good news is I have a plan to fix it. How about that? The plan, there you go. The plan is called, I don't know if you can see this back there, but it's called Radical. I like to steal Democrat words. Radical transparency. Did I mention to you all that I am the first trans candidate for this job? Okay. I don't know why you're laughing. So, what is radical transparency? We have technology. I don't have my cell phone because we're live streaming on it, but everybody here in this room has a credit card and a cell phone. And if you go to Starbucks on the way home tonight, you get a cup of coffee, 10 seconds later, you get a transaction report on your cell phone. The state controller has plenary authority to mandate the method of financial reporting of every entity in the state. That includes the counties, the cities, and the NGOs that take our money. I will mandate daily transaction level reporting. Okay? So what that means, you don't need more employees. You don't need a gender biodiversity study to figure it out. I will provide you with a simple electronic connection, secure connection, your credit cards of your staff, Mr. Mayor, it's going to happen in Irvine and in the county. It's going to happen everywhere, and your checkbook. Every time a check is cut, the transaction will be electronically delivered to an open source database open to every citizen in the state of California to see the day it happens. This is going to be called the Transparency War Room. It's going to be in Sacramento. Think NASA Mission Control meets Wall Street trading floor. Every transaction, every day, I am the trans candidate. We are going to transform government with radical transparency. Okay. In conclusion, for those of you that are so inclined and you want to read about it, I mentioned there's a 49-page report on where the fraud is. That's back there. If you want the short, condensed version of how we fixed it, everybody runs and says how bad the other side is, right? How about a plan? How about a plan to fix it? My call to action for every one of you is get online, like, thumbs up, retweet, donate at herbmorgan.com. These little envelopes are back on the table. I have some fun cups and some different inappropriate sayings on them. God knows I'm not afraid to say the wrong thing. Thanks, JW. I would tell you this. The state controller is one of the 8 elected executive positions. It's the one we always come the closest to winning. Last time around, we got 45%. In the controller's race, we got 42 in the governor's race. The controller is the most winnable. I think we're going to win them all. Don's going to be Secretary of State. This is all happening, okay? But this is the most winnable. We're at 45% before the impact and turnout of voter ID. That gets us to 48%. We're at 48% before the impact. Hey, you don't have to be a Republican to be against fraud. So I need you to talk to your NDP friends and your Democrat friends. Fraud is, everybody's against fraud. We will win this. We will go over 50%. It's really starting to happen. I got to go on the Adam Carolla show today. How cool was that? Yeah, we did that. We got Adam Carolla, and then we flew up here. We're doing Dr. Drew next week. New York Post has been picking up on us. Everything's going great. Grab one of these cards, grab a bumper sticker. Most importantly, grab an envelope. And thank you, Monterey GOP. Appreciate y'all very much.
We're rolling right along here through some state offices that you never really think about. And it's good to get a deep dive into it, right? You know, we're going to go to the next one, which is our final state office we'll be discussing tonight, and that's the Insurance Commission. And here comes Stacey.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. My name is Stacey Korsgaden, and for those of you that can't remember that last name, if you like beer, it's Stacey Korsgaden. And today I would like to explain to you why I cannot find an affordable insurance policy or actually just find an insurance policy. And I'll tell you today, the reason is California, as it stands right now, is simply not insurable. Why do I say that? I know because I've been in insurance for nearly 40 years. I've helped individuals, families, and businesses find and navigate insurance through all complicated arenas. And I can tell you that California has not done this due diligence. Laws and the policies have deliberately left us exposed and unprotected. I'm a licensed insurance advisor and nationally recognized for service with my company, and I'm proud of that. But what I'm here to tell you is, as the insurance commissioners, some changes need to be happening, and they will happen immediately. Insurance is supposed to cover a claim when we experience something that's unexpected, such as theft, vandalism, water loss, damage like liability. But today in California, we're seeing something that's much darker. Political decisions have turned national risk into man-made disasters. The fires that roared through the Pacific Palisades, Altadena, and Malibu, I'm sure you all, like me, looked at it before. They really were a verdict of our government. They prove that our leaders are weak and willfully negligent. They have exposed us to a broken insurance environment that we must fix. Families did everything right. They paid their premiums, they followed the rules, and yet they were left exposed. Most people in California do not know that we're living under something called Prop 103. How many people know what Prop 103 is? It's the answer everywhere. We voted it in narrowly in 1988. And what that did is it brought in socialism into the insurance market. When you have over-regulation and price controls, that's called socialism. When we have price controls and over-regulation, everyone suffers, always. What happened in the 1990s? We stopped our timber industry. We stopped fitting our trees. Then we had environmental policies that decided to protect a weed over people. We have decades of stacked brush, unmanaged forest, and communities that are turning into our hillsides into something that's very, very flammable. That's not an act of God, it's an act of government. It doesn't stop with fires. In 2021, Gavin Newsom did what? He has been in the process of closing 4 prisons. This year, we're ready to close the 5th one. Crime, both violent and non-violent, has exploded in our neighborhoods. It has turned many businesses, it has damaged many businesses and shattered lives. We cannot accept this as the norm. We don't have to accept it as the norm. We have been left with this burden, and it is because of our leaders. I think I made this clear. We paid our premiums, we paid our taxes, and we've been left carrying the load. Enough is enough. I am ready to restore a healthy insurance environment and an healthy insurance market to the state of California. I've done it my entire career, and I would like to tell you how we do that. Number one, I have a 10-point plan on my website. It's stacy4insurancecommissioner.com. I welcome you to look at it. But I want to give you just one example. If I were the commissioner today, I would have a presence down in the Palisades. I would call it a MASH unit. It would be a place where the Department of Insurance would have a presence, where the insurance companies would also have their adjusters, and where the policy holders, they could bring in their policies and their complaints and come see us at the Department of Insurance, and we can solve those issues. That's service. That's service with the heart. Those people down there are suffering, and it can happen anywhere. The first thing that I will do is I'll work with her Morgan. The Department of Insurance needs to be audited. There's fraud in there. Okay, so we're going to audit the department, and then the second thing is I will open up a new business division that will fast track new companies, new capital into our state. So when you have a complaint, you don't like your insurance policy, we have to have a choice. We also have to depopulate the fair plan. I'm getting the hood. So I can talk insurance all day, because I know it. I understand it. Most people do not want to talk about insurance. They want to know that if they pay their premium, their contract will be honored. I will serve the people of California, all people, with diligence, with pride, and work to have affordable insurance and accessible insurance to the state of California. My name is Stacey Corson. I received endorsement of the Republican Party. I'm very proud of that. And I would like your endorsement and your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So those are state level candidates, those are executive positions. You've learned enough probably to pass the civics test tomorrow. So the California GOP endorsed candidates that we have here are Mr. Don Wagner, Mr. Herb Morgan, Stacey Korsgaden, Shannon Kessler is here as the California GOP endorsed. And then not present, but we do have some videos. We have Gloria Romero, Sonia Shaw, and Michael Gates as California GOP endorsed candidates. On our website, we posted some videos of Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco. Those are the two Republicans running. So take a look at Monterey GOP. That's our website. If you need any information, info at MontereyCountyRepublicans.org. This is your commercial break. Okay, we've got a steak lunch coming up. This is at the VFW Hall in Prunedale. It's a $30 steak lunch. It's the best steak lunch you'll ever have. It's slam dunk. You get in, you get out, you have a nice steak, and they usually have a raffle. They raffle a lot of firearms, it seems. There's going to be an event on May 2nd. Yeah, go figure. On May 2nd, Steve Hilton, there's a barbecue. You can check all these on our website, okay? They're all available. And we've got a meet and greet on Tuesday, May 12th with Don Wagner. Moving forward, we're going from our state offices to our congressional representatives. At this time, I'd like to introduce the candidate for District 18, which goes from Morgan Hill and all the way down to King City. Come on up, Mr. Shane Lewis.
Okay, so it's very nice to see everyone here today. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Shane Lewis, as you said, I'm running for Congress and California District 18. So tell you a little bit about me. Originally, I'm from Florida, so I moved out here with my family in 1995 after 5 years in the United States Marine Corps. Thank you. I earned my blood links while I was in, so I earned the privilege of jumping out of an aircraft at 1,200 feet.
Oh,
So that was very interesting. And then I said, yeah, where can I get a job? Because I was an aviation technician. I worked on the Harrier AVP in the military. So where can I get a job in the electronics field? And everyone said Silicon Valley, Bay Area. So I came in here just like everybody else, wanting to get a job. And currently, I'm an electrical test engineer, and I've worked in research and development for decades for medical devices, and also worked as a failure analyst for a military contract company that built fighter displays, F-15, F-22, F-35. And the reason why companies hire me is because of my failure analysis experience. It's not something that anyone else really has. There's not very many. There are some, but there's not very many in the Bay Area that has that experience that adds to the engineering level of engineering that companies need in order to correct for issues. So I spent enough time on that. Why am I involved in politics? The thing that brought me to politics was I heard a politician say on TV, which I never thought I would hear, that the Second Amendment right could be regulated just like every other right. And I thought to myself, I didn't think any of the rights could be regulated. And so that's actually what started me applying my failure analysis expertise into politics. And so I started reading the Federalist Papers. I read all of them, the Anti-Federalist Papers. I read all the political philosophies. Then I read the biographies of Hamilton, Madison, Jefferson, and Washington. And then I went back to school and got my political science degree. I got my bachelor's in political science degree. And then I got worked out my master's. All I need is my thesis. Oh, man, that's hard. And political science. Okay. So political science, actually, it's not really political science. What the purpose of your government is my passion. Because I don't think anyone is really representing what our form of government represents right now. And I will tell you, my hero when it comes to our founding fathers is Madison. Because Madison was both a Federalist and an anti-Federalist. He was able to see both sides and come up with solutions that would benefit both of them, but reinforce the purpose of the Constitution. So what do I see right now? We see at the state level, there's tons and tons of progress. Okay, what that means is, and it's no different at the federal level than it is at the state level, your government is failing you. And what they're doing is they're using interests of individuals in order to distract us from holding government accountable. I'll give you an example. The way the federal government affects the state government is through census dollars. Okay, so the census is includes three things. It includes raw population, that means everybody in the state, regardless of your status. The amount of people that are below the poverty line, so it encourages the state to have excess people below the poverty line and population density, right? So you have those three things. Your state can engineer things. I'm glad I got to use that. But by the way, my wife, my wife, when I told her I was running for Congress, she said I'm leaving him. Anyway, she's still with me, by the way. But so anyway, those three things factor into how much money and support that the federal government gives your state. The amount of money that the state of California gets from the federal government from the census is $175 billion every single year. Now, let me tell you what Madison said in the Federalist Papers in Federalist 49. He said, the only legitimate fountain of power is the people. But that fountain of power is tax revenue. And everyone in the state of California, okay, God, dadgummit. Okay, so anyway, essentially what you have is your federal government, because of the tax dollar or the census dollars that is given to the state, is competing directly with you. So we just need to make sure that the census dollars that are given to the state are actually used for the right purposes. And that's what I'm going to be doing at the federal level. So Shane Lewis, running for 18, Congressional District 18. My website is ShaneLewisForCongress.com. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Shane. It takes a lot of courage to do this, doesn't it? It takes a lot of gumption and a lot of courage and a lot of waking up every morning and thinking, oh my gosh, my knuckles are bleeding from knocking on doors last night, but I got to go do it again. And by the way, you're getting lots of extra credit for your civics test, aren't you? When you think about it, I mean, So the numbers I've heard from the candidates in terms of budgets and dollar money spent, uh, they're all in the billions with a B to this state. That's a lot of money. And I'm hearing that there's more fraud than money coming in. It's 425 for the fraud, 350 for the state budget. And what did we just hear, Shane? 125 comes from the federal government. 175 comes from the federal government. It means the rest comes out of your pocket every time you go to the gas station. Anyways, we're gonna move along. We've got another candidate. Yeah, wrap it up. It says we got another candidate for Congress. Peter Verbica comes from a well-known family in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and he's going to tell you all about District 19. Thank you. All right.
Thanks for inviting me as a guest. It's great seeing Gary. He's an excellent shot. We go to Coyote Valley Sporting Clays together. There's not a clay pigeon that's safe as Gary is there. I also want to thank Jim Strickland is here. Where's Jim? There he is. Jim is working with David Quinert, and they are hell-bent on leather, focused on unfunded liabilities. So thank you, Jim Strickland. I also want to thank Bert and Minerva Lundy, what you guys do. Brian Higgins is a co-chair for our campaign, Peter Verbica for Congress. And I appreciate all that Brian does as my as a mentor. So let's see. I just want to say I grew up on a cattle ranch. I worked during the summers. The money I earned, I used to buy school clothes. So that many of us worked as teenagers, and I think it helped us have a good work ethic. And it seems like the state of California is trying to keep young people from being able to get jobs because they make the rules and regulations so stringent. I'm a co-owner of a money management firm, a certified financial planner. I taught in an Austrian School of Economics department at a university, and a small business owner, proud dad with 4 adult daughters, the oldest of whom served in the U.S. Navy. So anyway, I got to buy her a 1911 45 with their Strike Fighter Squadron emblazoned on the rail and on the handles. And how many dads get to do that? And I bought one for myself too. So anyway, my youngest daughter went to Valley Forge Military College in Wayne, Pennsylvania. So anyway, like the other candidates, who are here, we talk about solutions. So if you go to our website, peterverbica.com, you'll see a 25-point plan. If you talk to young people and you ask them what they care about, it's really affordability. Most of them can't afford to buy a house. And so I asked them, why do you think housing is so expensive in California? And they get kind of a confused look on their face. And I explained to them, since I was in an economics department, it's a supply issue. And thanks to something that happened in the early 1970s in California, we've been underbuilding for over half a century, and that was CEQA, the California Environmental Quality Act. So anyway, the other thing about running as a candidate, and thank you Republicans who are running, is that you get to talk to a lot of people. If you talk to people in ag, what do they care about? They hate PAGA. It basically for minor infractions, they get strong-armed, extorted out of money for class action litigation. So anyway, they're also concerned about water. And Californians, if you look at the record, the voting initiatives, we voted billions of dollars for new water infrastructure, no new dams in 50 years. In fact, we were phasing out dams. They tore out, I think, 3 of them. So anyway, I'll let you know a little bit about the current incumbent. He endorsed Swalwell, so that's Panetta for you. He voted against voter ID. He voted against, initiatives that would keep men out of women's sports. He voted against initiatives that would stop gender-related medical procedures for minors. And if you follow the money, he's got a lot of it, between $4 and $5 million. And a lot of that came from, guess where? Public sector unions. So anyway, that's what we're fighting. I'll tell you some of the things that I believe in. So just quickly, I believe in the importance of human life. I believe in a strong national defense. I believe in election integrity, the voter ID, identification and voter list maintenance initiative. I believe in secure borders and national sovereignty. I believe in supporting girls and women, especially in sports and private places like restrooms. I believe in Western civilization and civic education, our Judeo-Christian traditions, our Greco-Roman traditions, they should be taught in schools. I'm for meritocracy, not mediocrity. I believe that we need to protect mission-critical industries. I believe in energy realism. We saw what happened in Moss Landing with the fires that affected our agriculture. I'm for water infrastructure and wildfire protection, healthcare reform, immigration reform, confronting communism, housing affordability, insurance reform, pro-business reform. Taxes should be lower, flatter, simpler. We ought to look at our unfunded liabilities. I'm against the politicalization of nonprofits. I'm for law enforcement, order and truth. Vote for Peter Verbica for Congress. Thank you.
All right, so far we've heard from state executives, executive candidates. Then we've talked about congressional candidates, right? These are both two congressional candidates. By the way, we're going to have Q&A afterwards. You'll be able to talk to these guys. You'll be able to mingle. Now that you know more about civics and you've heard what they have to say, you'll have the chance just to meet them in the back and ask them questions. You can ask Peter what PAGA is. That's their logo. We'll find it out, right? We're going to move into state assembly. So we have, of course, state senate and state assembly in the state of California. So we have a state assembly candidate for District 30, and that's Ms. Shan Kessler.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Please don't mind if I keep my phone here because my daughter-in-law is in labor with my first grandbaby. And I've heard that that's the best club to be a member of. I'm not getting any arguments anywhere I go. So that baby girl, and we do know she's a girl, is one of the reasons I'm running. I founded Save Girls Sports Central Coast. Thank you, Peter, for mentioning girls and sports and for being a proud girl dad. I started speaking about a year ago on this topic, and that was because I felt as a woman in my 50s that I have benefited from Title IX, which passed in 1972 when I was a little girl. Through that, I got to play sports, almost as many sports as my brother did. And I spoke at my school board and I said, my generation will have seen the beginning and the end of girls' sports if we continue on this path. We're already on there in California, and they're going against the federal government. That wasn't even my inspiration. We're going against the original intent of Title IX. We're peeling back women's and girls' rights. It's almost as if women don't exist anymore. And I'm not willing to stand for that. My opponent, Dawn Addis, feels the opposite way on that. I'm pretty much the opposite of her. I tell people the only thing Dawn and I have in common is that we're both women. But I don't think she can define what a woman is. I'd like to ask her, but she won't see me. She won't see anyone. We call her a ghost candidate. but you all know that because she represents most of you. A little about me, besides my views on girls' sports and women's rights, is that I come from a 6th-generation California, 7th-generation California family. I'm very proud of that. And when people look at the daunting task of changing California, I like to think about my ancestors, literal 1849ers, who came here and when there was nothing. What they saw was a beautiful state with fantastic weather, with smart people, multiple resources above and under the ground, and opportunity. And a lack of regulation back in those days. They made this state what it is. And now the state still has almost all of those features. What it does also have is a government that's limiting all the beauty and wisdom and creativity that we're thriving in this state in spite of our government. So Dawn Addis will not address public safety and homelessness. This is a significant problem. It's a shame and a blight to our state. I, at the state legislature, will address this and will listen to my constituents. I plan to listen to my constituents even if they didn't vote for me, because that is literally the definition of the job, to represent the people in your district. Cost of living, a couple of the other candidates brought up. That is also a motivation. I like Herb's story of driving here as a child. I can even point to my own life. In my 20s, my husband and I bought our first house at 22. Neither of us had a college degree. We just both worked full time and saved up the money. My own kids, 25 and 27, can't repeat that simple California dream. What have we done in one generation? I agree with what Stacy said. We have overregulated and environmental controlled that dream out of existence. But I do believe we can change that. And I do believe that there's hope, because 2026 is a very exciting time to be a candidate. I mean, it's our 250th. That is an honor. And as I go when I speak, there's young people out here that are ready to do this. So please come and tell me your problems, your views. I want to represent you. Kessler4ca.com. That's my website, and I'm ready to represent you. I'm gonna quick take a little selfie. This is a friend I learned from I learned this from my friend Sonia Shaw.
So Shannon's running in District 30, which goes along the coastline. That's Dawn Addis's current location, but we're gonna get Shannon in there real quick. District 29 runs more from Morgan Hill down through the Slants Valley, all the way down to King City, I believe, a little bit beyond. And we have a couple candidates we're going to introduce. First one is J.W. Payne. He's from San Benito County, coming up.
Stand up real quick. Stretch your legs, stretch out, stretch. I'm going to give you guys my 1 minute of that, okay? Now I'm just going to talk. My name is J.W. Payne. What's my name? Come on, say it again. What's my name? I want you to look at my website. It's very simple. It is Vote for J.W. Payne. I'm very proud of having over 23 different organizations and people have endorsed me because I am a fighter. And that's what we need to do with Robert Rivas. We need to get rid of Robert Rivas, plain and I'm not going to touch that mic. It's too hot. All right, can you hear me? If you can't hear me, I'll preach a little louder for you. Okay, amen, brother. So we got to get rid of Robert Rivas. Everything we're talking about is spending the money. He's wasting that money. He's not giving it to it. He lives in the same town I live in, Hollister. And what he does, I'll never forget, he fought us because when I first got involved in politics, my daughters came up to me and said, Dad, they're having little boys going into little girls' bathroom. I said, say what? No, that's not going to happen. I was working graveyard at Granite Rock. I said, no, I'm going to take a day off. And I'm going to go over and I'm going to find out what's going on with this. Robert was like, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Boys are boys, girls are girls. Plain and simple. If you believe that and that's what you want, and then the leader is going to actually fight for you, then I want you to vote J.W. Payne. Okay, plain and simple. Robert Rivas has to go because you know what? I don't know how he got over $2 million. Yes, $2 million in his accounts in a small little district like this to run against two wonderful men, right? Amen, brother? He has $2 million. Last time I ran against him, I got 35.2%. 35.2%. I spent less than $9,000. Well, you can clap on that. I'm proud of that. Come on. And the reason why is because we're fighters for this. We're getting sick and tired of being pushed back. I am a Teamster truck driver. I'm not just a Teamster truck driver. I am what we call the enforcer. Yes, I know some of you guys don't like to hear that, but I'm the enforcer. I'm the one to make sure the contract gets taken care of. But I do it in a Christian way. I try to talk to them first. I try to negotiate with them, make sure of the management and understand that you signed a contract. You said you're going to do the job. We're doing our job, so let's work together. Robert Rivas doesn't listen to anybody. Because let me tell you, I have tried to go over to his house. Excuse me, never went to his house. Clarify that. No, we're online. Never went to his house. I tried to go to his office. I was never, ever allowed to speak to him. But I can tell you, I know where he lives. Should I go knock on his door? No, I don't want to go to jail. I'm too pretty. So Robert Rivas doesn't want to talk to us peons. He likes the money, and he's going to his next race. After he's done with this, we're done with him. I've been trying to work my brand because I knew it was going to be a fight to go get Robert Rivas. So my brand is very simple. What is my website? Come on. Vote J.W. Payne. Vote for J.W. Payne. J.W. is my name. It doesn't stand for just worthless. It's for James Wayne Payne. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, how I started. Are we good? Okay, I'm going to go over there. Don't scare me like that. So I started. My real mother was raped. Okay, I didn't want you. I'm going to say it one more time. She was raped. She was raped, and I was the product of that. So I believe that God has been in my life before I even came out of the womb. Amen? Because I would not be here. I would not be here because guess what? In 1969, she could not abort me, but she tried her best. So I have a really bad pancreas because all the alcohol she tried to do to get rid of me. God gave me my parents that I personally adopted, and I say that because in the 70s, I went to them and I said, hey, listen, I need a mom and dad. So I just started coming over their house, and guess what? They fed me. I never left. I was taught to live on the ranch. I was taught to work with my hands. I was taught to work with every type of person. I worked in the fields. I got you. I worked in the fields with my brothers, Latinos. I worked in the fields with other, believe it or not, back in the 60s and the 80s. Sorry, not 60s, I'm not that old. The 70s and 80s, we all used to work there. Sweet potatoes, watermelons, working that field. And in the Central Valley, you all got it here easy. Central Valley's 105 degrees. Okay? Sometimes 110. I want to fight for the little people. I want to fight for all of us. God bless you all, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, J.W. You know, Robert Rivas was featured recently. There was Nick Shirley. There's a great shot of Robert Rivas walking away to his limousine in order to talk. So both these candidates are up against somebody who is sort of grooming himself to go on to better things. He's the speaker of that assembly, so he's a powerful guy in terms of Sacramento. So we need somebody up there. Next guy I'm going to introduce is Mr. Dennis Sanchez, who's also running for the same district.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for being here tonight. It's pretty simple. It's a great time to be a conservative. We're here to change the state, get it back to California, what it was supposed to be. My foundation is simple. It's family, faith, and freedom. My infrastructure, it's pretty basic. It's safety, education, small business, infrastructure. Things that California don't need, AB laws. We don't need, there are other burdens, right? Another burden, more taxes, gas tax, proposed tax. We need to eliminate this stuff. We need to cut the regulations and cut the red tape. Californians are tired of what's been going on, and we're here to change the state back to what it's supposed to be. What California does need is law and order. We need to build more houses. We need to protect our farming. We need to shore up our water. We need better roads. We need parental rights, school choice, local control. Enough of the oversight. I just want to thank you. I don't have a whole lot. We're all in the same thing. We're all sick and tired. We're Californians, and we're done with this nonsense. It's about getting the man up there to do the job. I'm committed to doing this with what better ticket than what we have here tonight, and I'm ready to do the work. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for being here, and God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this event is sponsored by the Monterey County Republican Party, but we're going to take it to another level, so to speak, here. Okay, hold on to the chairs. You're going to hear from a Democrat. Now, the reason you're going to hear from a Democrat is because we're talking Monterey County. So if you're in Santa Cruz County, you can listen, you might learn something. Okay, San Benito, you might learn something. But this is a candidate. Her name is Burju Musa. She's running for Monterey County Auditor Controller. It's a very important position, and she'll be happy to tell you all about it. Come on up, Burju. She spoke to our Central Committee meeting on Thursday, and we were so impressed as a body with her that we said, let's bring her and let her talk at the candidate forum. So please.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here tonight and inviting me. My name is Burju Musa, and I'm running for Monterey County Auditor Controller in the June primary. I'm running because I believe good government starts with fiscal responsibility, independent oversight, and transparency. That is the exactly kind of leadership that I will bring to this office if elected. For those who may not be familiar what the Auditor Controller does, its core responsibility is to protect taxpayer funds. And at its core, at its core, it makes sure that it is eliminating fraud, waste, and abuse by being the protector of your funds. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. So I'm gonna not look at my notes, and this was all tough act to follow from you guys. So a little bit about me. My name is Burju Musa. As I've mentioned, I've been a Monterey County resident for 11 years. I'm a certified public accountant. So as an office that is responsible for being the chief financial officer of the county that handles all the audits and the financial reporting, being a CPA is a non-negotiable. First half of my career, I worked in public accounting. I specialized in government entities and nonprofits. I traveled throughout the California as a public accountant and worked as an external auditor. That experience had brought me to Monterey County Auditor Controller's Office. So I worked in the Monterey County Auditor Controller's Office from 2016 to 2025 as Chief Deputy Auditor Controller and then as Assistant Auditor Controller before I stepped away to run for this position. And I'm running because our Monterey County Auditor Controller's Office is failing right now. Our incumbent have done a great job alienating staff and losing our operations. So as the Monterey County Auditor Controller's Office, they're conducting error. There's so many errors that is happening. There's a bleeding of staff turnover and institutional knowledge. When that happens, your taxpayer funds are not being protected. It is inefficient and ineffective and pro-government. Man, you're supposed to be at the county level, be the first line of defense for the state controller's office, for example. This office is not able to do any of its duties. So with that said, what I will bring to this table is the support of the county. I've been endorsed by the Monterey County Management Association, which means that it is the people that I worked with for 10 years that is supporting and coming behind me and saying the incumbent has done a horrible job. My opponent is the person that was hired after me, who is not a CPA, that does not understand our county finances and our county government, and is adding into the problem. So I'm here tonight asking for your support and asking for your vote, because this election is extremely critical. Other endorsements that I have had is the previous Monterey County Auditor Controller, Michael Miller, who has served this county for 5 years, and Monterey County, and I did mention the Employees Association. So thank you so much for having me, and that's all I will have.
Thank you. That pretty much wraps up the forum. The candidates are going to hang around. We still have lots of time. So you can talk to them one-on-one and feel free and get some refreshments. And also I passed around a sign-up sheet for different volunteer opportunities. So feel free and check in, to see whichever opportunity that you like to be involved in with the candidates, or being involved with the Monterey County Republican Party outreach. So yeah, so check that out. And like I said, just, hang around and, talk to the candidates. We have this for another 40 minutes here. So thank you all for coming, and you have a wonderful evening.